Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the FIA Webinar series and to today's webinar titled, Are You Maximizing Google Ad Grants in the Right Way? I'm Stephen Malliott, an FIA board member and also the director of the fundraising consulting firm called Fundraising Force, and I'm delighted to welcome all of you today. Before we get started, there's just a few items of importance to tell you about. Over 1,200 fundraisers and alliance partners have taken the FIA code course. If you're not amongst the 1,200 who have taken the course, sign up today at fia.org.au. It's important that everyone who touches fundraising takes the FIA code course. The FIA conference will take place the 27th of February to the 1st of March of 2019 in Melbourne. Mark your calendars. Registrations will open very, very soon, and I know that the conference committee is working hard on the content. Over the next few months, there's a number of professional development opportunities happening in each of the states across Australia. Please visit fia.org.au or look at your monthly EDM from FIA for details on how to register for courses and also local professional development events in your area. The FIA webinar series is a member benefit, which means members attend these webinars free of charge. It's just another great reason to be a member of FIA. Membership renewals commenced on the 1st of July, and unless you've renewed, your membership is now expired. Make sure that you renew your membership or join for the first time right away to take advantage of this and other fantastic membership benefits. I want to thank our webinar sponsor, Go Fundraise, for all of their support of FIA throughout the year. FIA will place a recording of today's webinar in the members only area of the FIA website, and we'll also email this out to all of you. Our presenter will take questions at the end of today's webinar. If you've got a question, please submit it in the question box on the right side of the screen. Today's webinar is being presented by Lindsay Sun of Meow Media. Lindsay is the director of Meow Media, a sought-after industry speaker on topics related to direct marketing, not-for-profit marketing, and product management. After completing her master's degree in 2011, Lindsay worked for several major nonprofit brands, including the Endeavour Foundation, Vinnie's, and the Arthritis Foundation. She was awarded the 30 Under 30 title in 2014 by the Australian Institute of Management, recognizing her achievements at the Endeavour Foundation. In 2016, Lindsay started her own agency and introduced the Meow Media for Nonprofits program. Lindsay, I want to welcome you and thank you very much for presenting today's webinar.
Oh, thank you, Stephen, for that great introduction. And hi, everyone. Lindsay here. Thank you so much for participating in today's webinar. I'm very looking forward to sharing our agency's experience in maximizing Google Ad grants for our clients in the right way. Over the past couple of years, we've come across a lot of charities who use Google Ad grants for their search advertising, and we've certainly learned a lot through this experience. So today's webinar for us is also a very good opportunity to output the experience, and hopefully more charities can benefit from this. I know that some of my own clients are here today as well. Thank you for the support, and please don't ask too difficult questions. Okay, so given that today's topic is maximizing Google Ad grants in the right way, and the subtitle is Unlock the Best Practice of Google Ad Grants, I would assume most of us know what the Google Ad grants is and probably already using the grants for your organization. Therefore, I won't go into the details on introducing the grants, just a quick description to refresh your memory. So the Google Ad grants is a $10,000 US per month free Google Ad spend for eligible nonprofit organizations. The grant itself cannot be cashed out. It can only be used in Google search engine advertising. And also the advertising platform itself to utilize the grants is called Google Ads, and previously known as Google AdWords. that name is no longer in use. So Google has had a complete rebranding. Now it's just Google Ads. Great. So in order to evaluate best practice, we've come up with these 4 benchmarks: compliance, capacity, conversion, and cost. I actually feel pretty good about coming up with these 4 titles, all starting with a C. I normally don't like that, but it helps with memorizing. So we'll go through each of them today. First one is compliance. For some of you might already know that there is a policy called Google AdWords policy. Starting from January this year, we've seen quite a few changes with the updated Google AdWords policy, which in fact has actually resulted in a lot of organizations losing their grants. The reason for Google to update their policy and being very strict about it is because it doesn't want to just give out free money like that. It wants its ads to be relevant. And Google as an organization, it has the corporate mission, which is to organize the world's information and make it relevant to people. So in order to make sure that the Google AdWords are used in the right way, the policy itself is an instrument to help the charities to stay relevant with their Google advertising, not because, just because it's free money and you can use it in any way you want. With a lot of organizations that we came across, some of them, they've experienced account suspension or account deactivation due to not being compliant with the policy. So the very first part of these 4 benchmarks is to stay relevant and stay compliant to the policy. And Google might change it from time to time. There are a few important areas that it looks at, and we will go through them in detail in the next slide. The second benchmark is capacity. With Google AdWords, it's very generous. It's $10,000 US per month, which translates to $329 US per day. It's a lot of money. In order to use the grants fully, the charities, they generally aim for fully consume the daily budget, $329 per day. The reason for that is these grants, it doesn't get roll over the daily budget. It's $329. If you've only used $100 from that $329, the next day it tops up back to $329. So it's not like you can save a little today and then use it another day. It doesn't work like that. Hence, it's definitely your goal to make sure you consume that daily budget from Google AdWords fully, 100%. And then the third benchmark is conversions. We all know that when it comes to digital marketing in general, especially for search engine marketing, conversion is a very important metric to be looking at. There are some limitations with Google AdWords, but there are also ways to work around it in order to spend the grants effectively and generate the most relevant search traffic, which can lead to conversions later on. The last and the fourth benchmark is cost. With any digital advertising, there is a cost come with it. Although Google AdWords itself is free advertising spend, but managing it correctly, using it in the right way, there is a time cost associated with it. And if you are engaging an agency to manage your Google AdWords and Google Ads, there is also a financial cost as well. So next, we're going to go into these 4 sections, one after another, and feel free to just document your questions when I'm going through everything, and then ask at the end of the presentation. Compliance. Okay. The new Google AdWords policy, which has been updated earlier this year, came into effect in January. at the beginning, even for a lot of agencies who help nonprofit clients with their search advertising, didn't expect that Google was being so strict about, compliance issues. And in the end, it was actually quite to our surprise that it's actually suspended quite a few nonprofit organizations' Google Ads account out there, and in our opinion, and sometimes without sufficient warning, because what Google relies on to tell you that your account is compliant or not is mainly the in-product notifications, which means you have to open up your Google Ads account, and then there is a notification section. A lot of the compliance warnings come through that way. You might receive emails as well, but this Google sends out so many emails, and sometimes they don't get into the important emails inbox, or they just get archived automatically. Hence, it's very important to log into your Google Ads account frequently and making sure that you're up to date with all the notifications. If you have experienced account suspension or deactivation in the past 6 months, you're not alone. There are many charities experiencing this, and the impact can be quite dramatic for some of them, because $10,000 per month, if you're estimating $1 per click, that's 10,000 visits drop in that 1 month. So you definitely don't want the account to be suspended. But the good news is Google in general will consider reactivating a Google AdWords account. Depends on if you can fix all the issues you've experienced. For charities, one thing to keep in mind is there is a time cost to fix and reinstate a Google AdWords account. Google takes a few days to come back to you and tell you, have you fixed all the issues? Is there anything else you need to do? And then they make a final decision on whether they will reinstate their account or not. Also, the arrangement, the original setup with how you set up your Google AdWords account, the logins, the owner of the account, all these issues need to be straightened out before you contact Google, because otherwise it can easily just go into a very lengthy back and forth communication. So to comply with Google AdWords, there are quite a few bullet points in here, and they're equally important, I would say. Any one of them, if you fail to comply to, Google will send you notification within the product that it's not being compliant for the previous calendar month, and you have to fix it. The AdWords program policy, it gives you opportunity of 2 consecutive months. If you are not being compliant, it will result in a deactivation. So the first rule is you have to achieve a 5% click-through rate for each calendar month. And in order to do that, Google suggests that you only use very relevant keywords to drive traffic. And if you fail under 5%, and then you just you really should start pausing some of the broad keywords out there. There is a trick to this. So because we all understand that nobody can be on top of your account all the time, what you can do is to utilize the automated rule within the Google Ads account and making sure that it sends you a notification, an email, when your campaign click-through rate falls under 5%. And in that way, you can go into the account and then check out what are some of the keywords you can pause. The second one is only to use keywords with a quality score of 3 and above. There's a trap here because sometimes when we set up keywords, new keywords into a campaign, you don't know what the quality score is going to be until the ads start running and the data have come back, and then it'll show a quality score of that particular keyword. And in order to solve this issue, you can also utilize the automated rules within Google Ads, giving the condition that if quality score falls under 3, pause the keyword. that will remove a lot of the manual work you or your team have to do in order to make sure that you're compliant with this point. The third one is a little bit harsh. So it's a single word keywords are not permitted. In the past, before January this year, utilizing Google AdWords to the maximum amount every day is not so much of an issue because there are so many single word keywords we can use that are somewhat relevant or very relevant to what your organization is doing. But from this year, that's not the case anymore. Google is being very strict about you cannot use single word keywords. There are some exceptions, such as your brand name or some medical terms is still okay. But 99% of the time, it will let you know that single word keywords are forbidden. You cannot use them. And it sends you a report which will have this statement in there, and you have to attentively check into your accounts and find out what are the keywords out there that are non-compliant. You need to have at least 2 ad groups for every campaign, and within each ad group to have at least 2 ads. The reason for Google to have a rule like this is to make sure that you utilize A/B testing, which is an optimization practice for managing Google Ads in general, and also giving Google some choice in choosing which ad is more relevant to the search term the users are using on the Google search engine. It also requires you to have at least 2 active site links for the account. You have to use geo-targeting too. So if your organization is based in Victoria, say, you just make sure that the campaign is targeted at Victoria. Countrywide is fine. It's absolutely fine. Multiple countries are fine too. What it doesn't allow you to do is to have all countries and regions. And that's like one critical setting in campaigns you have to adjust in order to be compliant. And the last one is relatively easy. Google sends out a yearly survey to ask for input from the charities to improve the Google for Nonprofit program and Google Ad Grants. Make sure that whoever is looking after your Google Ad Grants complete that survey on time, because not completing it can also cause issues and deactivation of your account in the end. Capacity. So, as I mentioned, there's $10,000 US per month to use. The chances are most of the smaller organizations in Australia, they don't use that to full potential at all. Clients that we came across from this sector, they generally utilize only about 5 to 20% of the ad grants, especially after updated Google Ad Grants policy came into effect this year, which has limited quite a few opportunities for keywords. Hence, utilizing the ad grants, the daily budget for full becomes an issue. This is actually a very hot topic that we've often been asked by our clients as well. They wonder, like, what exactly can we promote through Google Ads? And the easy answer is absolutely everything, pretty much everything, as long as it serves a charitable purpose, which is what your organization does. Google Ad Grants are commonly used for promoting organization service, advocacy, and fundraising. But it doesn't mean that it has to stay very close to these core organization functions. There are other areas you could utilize the grants, such as online shops, branded merchandise, volunteers recruitment, even just employment recruitment as well, events, internal events, external events, partners events, any kinds of events, research and surveys. For many charities, they do like donor surveys, supporter surveys regularly, Google Ad Grants can be a very good promotional tool to get together the traffic volume and get people to participate in your annual research. Organization news. Some of the organizations we came across, they still have like a media center within their website, which have their media release, has their updated news constantly. And these are good content source for Google Ad Grants too. Like you want to get the words out, utilize Google Ads. Just take it as a media outlet itself. Whatever that's happening in your organization, you want to get the words out, making sure that you think of Google Ad Grants. And to last but not least, to think even more creatively, you can also try to capture the search volume from current media events. You know, if you're a climate change organization, for example, the recent drought in Australia, that kind of media events being very widely discussed in the society, is there any relevance between the media events and what you are doing? You can generate quite a few keywords from that and then get people's attention to your own organization. So this one, it will work really well with your PR department or PR team too. Whatever alert topics there are, it should be synced across your Google Ad Grants as well. So making sure that you are fully utilize your daily budget. Search volume from partners events. Yeah, this is a good one too, because we don't generally consider a partners event something that we can promote within the organization, which is, you know, not necessarily the case. If, for example, a major insurance company is helping your organization in a certain way and you know, providing a prize or you know, generating income for your organization, that kind of initiatives can also be translated into a keyword plus ad portfolio, and then utilize Google Ads to get the word out, get more people involved. You know, sometimes they're not even your own supporter types; they might be your partners' potential customers. You can generate traffic from that pool to get more interest into your organization as well. Okay, this is my favorite slide. Because capacity is such a topical thing that we've often come across with our own charity clients, we have also suggested a chart, using a chart like this to come up with even more keyword ideas and more exposure opportunities. For some of you who have a marketing background, you'll be very familiar with this process. It's the customer or client decision-making process. So it's, you know, for conversion, for example, donations, it's not just one step. You know, one day someone came up with, oh, I'm going to donate to charity. Great, that's a quick decision. But in general, people go through a 5-stage process to achieve conversion, to complete the conversion loop. The first one is need recognition. The second one is information search, you know, research what's out there, what can solve my needs. And then the third one is evaluation of alternatives. What are my options? What are the suppliers out there? What are the charities that I can support for the particular cause that I want to support? And then they decide which one they want to convert to. And then either it's making a donation, making a bequest, and then the last stage is post-conversion evaluation. So within each of these steps, you can generate a lot of search terms and keywords people might use when they tend to Google for ideas. For example, the need recognition stage, someone who eventually, you know, adopted an animal on your website or bought made a donation as a gift certificate for someone, they might be searching birthday gifts on Google search engine. So it's not straightforward. You know, we can't just only include straightforward keywords and thinking that people already know your organization, know what they want, most of the chances are they are just searching in general, like what would be a good birthday gift for someone who loves animals. And that kind of search terms, if early on you already bid for them and having them in your Google Ads keywords portfolio, then you get a chance to get to people's decision-making process very early on. And then the research stage too, people at this stage, users, they would use keywords such as worthwhile charities to donate to, or something like best NGOs in Australia, charities reviews. These are keywords. These are the keywords that people might use at that stage to help with their decision-making process too. And you want to be there and be present, show up as well. And the conversion stage really is the part when people have already made up their mind to ready to donate. What we can see commonly within our clients' account before they're handed over to us is that they're heavily focused on the conversion stage, which is great because that is the most important stage. But because you have so much grants to utilize every day, you might as well map out the full loop and making sure that you explore as much opportunities of exposure as possible to fully take advantage of the Google Ad grant. Okay, so the third benchmark, the area we're going to look at is conversion. This is a very interesting topic because we come across a lot of clients who are asking for conversions, but in the very first place they haven't really defined their conversions very well. So it's not just the donations, transactions, ticket sales. It can be an inquiry submission. It can be click to calls on their website, phone calls on the Google Ads call extensions. It can also be, watching a video, watching a particular blog article, or download a document. So all these actions can be defined as conversions, and Google Ad grants can be used for any one of them. But one thing to realize very early on, which can save you a lot of time and confusion in the future, is to realize that Google Ads as a digital marketing vehicle, most of the time, it completes only half of the conversion loop. And the other half is how good your landing page is. So what Google Ads essentially does is to generate the relevant traffic to get them to visit your landing page or your website. And the other half of the work to get that traffic to convert, to make a conversion, is your landing page. Is your landing page designed to convert the traffic? Is there a call to action mechanism? Have you given people enough reason to donate to you or to call you? Is there any customer testimonials? Is there any other supporting sections on the landing page which will help them make a decision? So these two together, and then you can start to have a proper marketing attribution model which involves both conversion and traffic. And the last part, which is the fourth benchmark, is cost. With Google Ad grants, because it's free money, we often see a phenomenon is when it's free, people don't take it seriously, which is really wrong because I wish I can tell you how jealous my commercial clients are of the Google Ad grants, because for them, in order to get clicks through, the relevant traffic through, they pay for each click out of their own budget. But for the charities, they have $10,000 to spend every month, which is generally a lot of money. So in order to fully utilize Google Ad grants, I think some charities start to realize that, well, if I want to optimize it in the right way, I need to either invest in my own team, getting someone on my team to manage the Google Ad grants and have internal capability. Or other agencies, they might consider engaging an agency. Other organizations might consider engaging an agency to do this job. There is a cost involved with either approach. If you're managing Google Ads in-house, the benefits would be that it will have a quicker sync with your overall marketing strategy. By essence, Google Ads is just another digital marketing platform, and it should be integrated into your overall overarching strategies. And also, if you have any ad hoc initiatives, the turnaround time to sync it through Google Ads can be very quick if the person managing Google Ads for you is one of your internal team members. But then the cons would be, it can be very time consuming to stay relevant. Google Ads itself, the entire optimization and setup strategy needs to be learned, and it's not a knowledge that can be just learned once. You have to constantly updating yourself with the latest techniques, with what's new in the account, what are the new features and functions you can take advantage of. And last but not least, if you have the determination to train someone on your team to look after the Google Ads, make sure that you have a knowledge management system too, so that you can close the gap in knowledge transfer. If that team member is moving on in the future, do you have like a system to support him to train the next person who is going to look after your account? So that's very important, because Google Ads, unlike the other marketing vehicles such as Facebook, it's more technical. There's a lot of language and glossary you need to know, and also the trends, the optimization practices, which is a little hard to chew and a little technical. So you have to have a proper handover strategy in order to pass that knowledge on within your organization. If you're considering engaging an agency, the benefits would be that in general, if this agency is a spot on good one that knows what they're doing, they would have the capability to keep up to date with the policy compliance, with any new account features with Google Ads in general, and also what's new with the latest optimization strategy. But then the cons would be for agencies who manage Google Ad grants, chances are, most of the time they're also managing commercial accounts, which is, a standard Google Ads account. And it's very easy to get confused. Some of the practices with the commercial Google Ads account, it's a little out of touch when it comes to a Google Ad grants account. And also managing commercial clients is quite different from managing a nonprofit client who has different needs, and their target audience is completely different as well. And if you don't choose the right agency, it can just lead to like this very separated strategy, as if Google Ads is running by itself, and it doesn't have much of a relevance to your overall marketing strategy. And that's something you have to be very careful of if you are thinking of getting a supplier to manage your Google Ads. So with this slide, which is my last slide, my overall recommendation would be you can consider combining these two approaches. What I mean is you can have someone on your own team in-house to have like an overall supervision for Google Ads. What it does is like this person needs to set clear KPIs, and what do you want to achieve? What are the key metrics you need to look at, and the channel needs to meet in order to be satisfactory. So this person needs to hold an agency accountable. he or she needs to at least have a basic understanding of Google Ads, the instrument itself, what can be achieved, what cannot be achieved, what is good performance, what's not good performance, and just making sure that the high level performance indicators are being held accountable by the agency. And then the other half is the agency can do the nitty-gritty of the work for you, the optimization practice, the week-to-week or day-to-day compliance, and also making sure that your ads are getting more and more relevant and more optimized over the time, and making sure that they are reporting to you on a regular basis as well. So that this kind of combined approach, we would say it probably will perform the best for your organization. Okay, and that's the last of my slide. My contact details are right here, and we're a digital marketing agency based in Australia. We have a particular program which is called Mail Media for Nonprofits. Managing Google Ad grants and Google Ads account is one of our major services. We have discounted rates for organizations, and it's a flat rate of $350 per month, and we look after Google Ads and Google Ad grants for you. So if you need any help, please feel free to send me an email or call me directly.
Lindsay, thank you very much for your content today. We've got a few questions. The first is from Susie, and she says that she really struggles measuring Google Ads, and she'd like to know your opinion about what's the most important KPI that she should look for.
Oh, that's a great question. So when it comes to KPIs, what I'll go back is the slide that we had in the very beginning. It needs to be all these four. So firstly, are you keeping compliant? Are you making sure that you've secured the Google Ad grants on an ongoing basis? That's an easy one. So you either have it or not. It's a hit or miss target, which is very important. And then the second KPI would be, are you utilizing the Google Ad grants 100%? The $329 per day daily budget, it doesn't get rolled over. So it has to be one of your major goals to make sure that it's being fully utilized every day. And then the third one will be conversions. If Google Ad grants is generating the most relevant traffic to your website or landing page, then it helps with the conversion on the landing page. But just making sure that at this part not to focusing too much on Google Ad grants, because as I mentioned before, conversion is a whole loop and Google Ad grants is only half of that loop. If it's generating correct traffic, relevant traffic to you, but they're not converting on your website or landing page, then the next step for you to look at is there anything you need to do on that landing page that helps converting the traffic? And then the fourth one would be to evaluate the cost. Google Ad grants itself doesn't cost anything, but if you have someone managing it, there is a time cost or financial cost with it. So that needs to be evaluated against the number of, lead conversions that you actually get from this platform. Is it still worthwhile for you to carry on using the ad grants? What's the ROI look like compared to the other channels, the offline channels and other digital channels? So that's that's a whole other topic, which I hope I will talk in the future, which is building a correct digital marketing attribution model in order to give a very fair weight and percentage for each channel when it comes to which converts and which doesn't. Thanks, Stephen. Next question.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. You talked a bit about converting, and Sharon says that she's had real difficulty, or her organization has, converting to generate donations, generate donors using these Google Ad grants. And so she wonders if you've got any suggestions for her. hands-on, tips
Yeah.
that she could deploy in her organization?
Yeah. See, Google Ad Grants is a little notorious for not performing too well for donations. The reason for that is, keywords related to donations, they are very competitive. Pretty much every nonprofit organization, as long as you are fundraising and using Google Ad Grants, you want to get donations from Google. Hence, a lot of donation-related keywords are being used by a wide number of organizations. So what we can do is to make sure that your keywords, your donation-related keywords, is actually also including the cause itself. So if your organization is related to anti-human trafficking, then the donation can, the keywords itself can be a phrase match or a broad match with modifiers that consists both the word donation and also the word trafficking. So you know what I mean? Like to make sure that you link the keywords donate or charitable donations, gifts, wills to the cause that's the center of your organization. And in that way, Google will not only give you a very reasonable quality score because it thinks that the website content is very relevant to what you're bidding for, which is the keyword, but also it also helps you with the ranking on Google as well. It gives you a better exposure because otherwise, if you're simply relying on Google Ad Grants to get your donation-related keywords to a higher position, it's very hard because everybody is competing for them. So this is the first thing you can do. The second thing would be to consider having two Google Ads accounts. One, still, the Google Ad Grants account, which is completely free money for you to use to secure the bottom line. And then the second one would be a paid Google Ads account. And in fact, many major charities in Australia, they use this way to make sure that, especially during appeals time, during donation seasons, that they have two accounts running at the same time, making sure they secure their donations. Because with Google Ad Grants, they've listed the bid cap, which used to be $2 per click, and now they've listed it, but you have to use it under a bidding strategy of maximizing conversions. And that doesn't give you much of a proactivity in manually bidding competitively with your competitors. So, but if you have a commercial account, you have a standard Google Ads account, you pay Google to get a better ranking for the same set of keywords, then you have a way better chance to rank above your competitors. And that's our experience with some of the major clients too. Yeah, and I think that's it. And also, last tip for the donations part is giving your supporters more assistance when they're searching online. Because, like if you are sending out an EDM or you're sending out another campaign, if they can directly donate to you by giving them a linkage to your donation landing page, then they can skip the whole part of having to search for relevant terms to get to you. So if you can cut the conversion process short as much as you can, that would be great. But if not, providing as much aid as possible for them to search. Does that answer your question, Stephen?
Yes, thank you. We've got a question from Catherine. She says, what if your organization's not receiving notifications from the platform itself? How do you reinstate this?
What if your organization is not receiving? How do you reinstate? So does it mean that Catherine's organization has already lost the Google Ad Grants, or is she under the risk of losing the grants?
I'm not sure.
Can you clarify that question?
Okay. Here,
all right.
No, here's what she says, Lindsay. Thank you for asking for the clarity. She says that they still have an account.
Okay. Well, the best way is to prevent it from happening, because you can't really rely on the in-product notifications, and chances are it's too late when you see it. It's probably already deactivated your account. So in order to prevent that from happening, I'm going back to the slides over here. So these 7 points under to comply with Google Ad Grants. Most of them, especially first three, they can be monitored by using automated rules. And that's something you need to set up within your account. So it gives you alert in email that if one of these bullet points is not being compliant, you make sure that you know, and then you can go into the account to make modifications as quickly as you can. The data Google looks at is per calendar month. So if you act on the emails alert that Google sends to you and do the modifications right away, you get a very good chance of still staying compliant for that 1 month. Yeah, because Google's alerts is sent on a basis of, it can be on like an instant, it can be based on previous 7 days or just previous day. The shorter the range, the sooner you will get alert. So that's why we emphasize on the importance of automated rules. If you act on it quickly and over a month period, you will have a very good chance of staying compliant.
Just to follow up, it says Catherine has written and said that she believes that notifications are going to another email and not to an email address at her organization.
Okay, there is a section within Google Ads account. This is probably, Catherine can give me a phone call after this. We can talk in detail. There's a section within Google Ads account where you can add email addresses for email notifications. So you can add as many as you need, because the issue, I can understand why it happens this way is, the person who set up the account in the very beginning, who might not be in the organization anymore, or they might have used a very generic email address to set it up, which is not being directed to the key people who are looking after the account. So it can happen, but it's an easy fix. Within their account, you can just add the emails that you want to be added, making sure that the people are staying on top of it.
Fantastic, and I just repeat your offer there for Catherine to reach out to you after for some additional assistance. We've got one last question from Sean, and he says that he understands that Google Ad Grants can only be used to advertise pages on the given organization's domain. However, when his organization runs special projects, they often use a separate site which has different facilities and sits on a different domain from the organization's website. Does this mean that these project sites cannot benefit from Google Grants?
Okay, that's a very good question. Not necessarily. Well, it can be very easy to understand it this way, that Google only allow ads to be linked to the very original website URL that's being approved for the Google Ad Grants. But Google also has another policy, another rule, which is if you want to add more websites, as long as you can prove that the website is owned by the organization and also is serving a charitable purpose, you can apply to Google to add even more websites to your own website portfolio. And we've applied this for a number of organizations in the past, because what happened to them is they're a national charity, and for each of their state, they have like a subdomain. For example, like if their URL is abc.com.au, then each state is like qld.abc.com.org.au or vic.abc.org.au. So each of these subdomains, you can submit a list of these subdomains to Google, and letting them know and provide evidence that they all belong to your organization. And then Google will come back to you and say, well, sure, you can use Google Ad Grants on these domains as well. And with some of the other, event sites, which has a complete different set of features. That's why some charities prefer to use a different different domain for hosting special projects. You can also go through the same process with Google, letting them know that this is one of your charitable initiatives. It absolutely belongs to you. It takes some time to have these conversations with Google, but in general, they are quite reasonable in making sure that your Google Ad Grants cover as much useful content as possible for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lindsay. I just want to thank you again for a terrific webinar today. We're really grateful that you shared your expertise with us, and we appreciate the content.
No worries. I hope everybody learned a little one or two tips which can be helpful to your organization, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Great, thank you. I just want to let our participants know about our next webinars. In October,
Yes.
We will not be holding a webinar, but we will be holding 2 webinars during the month of November. The first one is called Factors Driving Exceptional Fundraising. What do you need to know? And it's going to take place on the 12th of November at a new time at 7 p.m. The reason that it's going to take place at 7 p.m. is that we've got a very special presenter, Dr. Adrian Sargent, who's also going to be at the FIA conference. So this is a bit of a preview for you, but he's presenting from the UK. And so we needed to accommodate his time zone and ensure that he could present live to you. So again, that time is 7 p.m. on the 12th of November. The second webinar in the month of November is going to take place on the 21st of November, and that's presented by Mark Quigley, and that's titled Yes, Minister, Sir Humphrey's Guide to Engaging Government. This will be at our normal time, 12 to 1, on the 21st of November. You can register for both of these webinars at fia.org.au. I want to thank everyone for sharing your midday with us, and thank you again, Lindsay, for your fantastic presentation. I want to thank GoFundraise. I want to thank GoFundraise for their superb support of FIA throughout the course of the year. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. I hope you all have a terrific day. Thank you.